Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. As you know, I recently attended an event with Selena Sue in New York City, and I met such incredible people there who I've been introducing you to on this podcast. And today I'm really excited to have Adrienne Grace with me, who's another one of the incredible thought leaders and entrepreneurs that I met in New York City at Selena's event. Adrienne, I'm so excited that you're here today, and we're going to dive in and talk all about mindset and how that influences business success. Welcome.
Thank you, Krista. So excited to be here too. I've been thinking about it all week.
Awesome. So let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to dive into the good stuff. So Adrienne is a mindset and high performance coach, a consultant, and a speaker. She works with high achieving financial sales professionals to become leaders in their field and to make quantum leaps in their business, their finances, their personal growth, and their impact. She actually spent 16 years in the finance industry, and she was a very successful, high performing VP of sales. And while she enjoyed her career in finance, she always had this feeling that she was meant for more. She felt unfulfilled. And I think a lot of us can resonate with that. We're going to dive into that a little bit today. But after getting to the point where she was really stressed out, she was burned out, and it was taking a toll on her both mentally and physically, she went through a powerful transformation. And that has driven a lot of what she does today, where she's on a mission to help others change their lives by changing their mindset and their habits. So I love this story. I love that you transitioned from one very successful career into doing your own thing and really following that inner calling. And I want to dive in and talk about that in today's episode. But I thought let's start with the role of mindset in business success. And why is it important? How is it important? And what role does it actually play?
It plays such a huge role. I think such a bigger role than people realize. So my mentor, Bob Proctor, would always say that success is 95% mindset and only 5% strategy. So your mindset is really where all of your results are created from. It's something like 96 to 98% of all of our behavior and our results are driven from our subconscious mind. So if you want to change anything on the outside, you actually have to get to the root, which is in your mindset.
Yeah, and that kind of takes us into our subconscious, right? And so how do we do that subconscious work? How do we do the inner work so that we can actually influence the results that we have in our business if mindset is that big of a contributing factor?
Yeah, great question, right? Because it's our subconscious mind that's doing all the controlling, and it means it's subconscious, right? So we're not aware of it. So there's really only 2 ways to change your subconscious mind. One is through an emotional impact, which is typically something negative that happens, like maybe you go through like a big divorce or a disease diagnosis, or somebody close to you passes away. And it just like instantly shifts your perception. The other way is through repetition with coaching. And I say with coaching just because you have somebody to hold you accountable to that repetition. But it's really about ingraining these new principles over and over and over again into your mind. And there's some ways that you can do that to like help expedite it by doing like mirror work or journaling and things like that. But it really comes down to like that repetition.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've shared a lot on this podcast. I've had a couple of those really kind of catalyst moments in my life. First, being diagnosed with breast cancer and thankfully making it through that, and everything's great. The second was losing my dog in December, and then I lost my other dog in June. So it's been a few of those things that really did have me take that pause and take that step back and reimagine so much in my business, in my life, and really dive in and commit to what I call your rich, fulfilled life. And it's interesting because I always say to people, like, yes, you can have these moments, and sometimes we have them, but you don't have to wait for them. Don't wait for something like
Exactly.
really traumatic or something really
Totally.
even good or bad to happen to be that catalyst for change when you have the ability to do it now. You can do it right this second as you're listening to this episode.
Exactly.
So, how do you recommend that somebody chooses that path instead? They choose to take control of things on their own and to make those changes and put those things in place that are really going to help them get to whatever that next level is for them.
Yeah, so I really believe like carving out time every day for your personal development, your personal growth, whether it's, 15 minutes to an hour, where you're really kind of diving into yourself and learning something new and applying it to your life. So, like you said, one of my other teachers, who's Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I follow a lot, he says you can either change now or you can change in pain and suffering, right? So I think it helps us navigate those traumatic and big events in our life when we do that work. So a big part of I tell my clients all the time of even signing on to work with me is carving that time every day for your professional development and growth. Again, because I really believe just taking a few minutes, like whatever you can during the day, to help just evolve yourself, right? We're all here to grow, and spirit is always for like fuller, more expression. And so I've found in my life that I start to have anxiety when I'm not growing and evolving, because all that energy is just kind of then stagnating in your body and needs to go somewhere. So it's really about carving that time out every day.
Yeah, I think that's really a key point. We always talk about creating protected space for what's most important to you. And what's more important than creating space for something like this,
Mhm.
where it has such a huge influence on not just our success, but I think how we feel and our happiness and our level of fulfillment and all of those things as well.
Exactly. Mhm.
All right, so let's dive into some of the biggest mindset blocks that people tend to have. And I would imagine that one of the top ones is probably around money.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to hear, are there others beyond money before we dive in and explore that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I would say the two that go really hand in hand are both time and money. And they're both concepts, and we both have like beliefs about them in our subconscious mind.
Interesting. So when it comes to money, we'll start there, and then I want to hear more about time as well. Is do you have any tips for moving through any of our money mindset blocks that maybe are keeping us from the abundance that we really want to experience?
Yeah, so I think that we need to look at how we're looking at everything in our life, right? Because we live in such an abundant world, yet we all are stuck in that like survival mode of like scarcity and lack. So even when you wake up in the morning, if your first thought is like, I'm tired, I didn't get enough sleep, you're already in a lack mindset. And so it's about like seeing all the abundance around you in every area of your life, whether it's food or nature is like such a great example of like abundance in the world. And just like realizing that we have so much, and abundance means more than enough, right? So try to find other areas of your life where you have more than enough of what you need. And when you can start really getting into that frequency of like feeling that abundance, then you can start feeling that way about money also.
And now, how does this come up in relation to time?
Yeah, because like time, we think time is like a scarce commodity that we need more of. And we think of time as something that's like out there and separate from us. And that is really not true. Time is actually um, very personal to all of us. And a great example of that, like about how time moves differently, is like, have you ever, been so ingrained in something, or like you're spending time with one person and like time just totally flies by? And then on the other hand, if you feel bored or if you're like waiting on news or something, time seems to go so slowly. So time is relative. And Einstein actually taught us this, that time really depends on the observer of who's observing it as to how it passes. And so, again, when we start thinking that like time is out there and we don't have enough and it's a scarce commodity, we're in that lack and limitation mindset. So, I think the very first thing that you need to do for both time and money is like take responsibility for it, right? To be like, I'm the master of my own time, right? Like, I control time, I have all the time I need, and start getting that belief down into your subconscious mind. And it just really changes your entire perception and your whole day, really.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And it's true. I talk all the time about how all time is not created equal. It's about quality as much as it is about quantity.
Ooh,
Because
I
if
love
you
that.
work 2 days back to back, and day one, you are spent doing things that are outside your zone of genius, things that
Mhm.
drive you crazy and frustrate you, you are going to end those 8 hours feeling drained, like just completely
Exactly.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, then if you have your day where you're like in your zone of genius, you're doing
Yes.
innovative work, you're working with amazing clients, like good luck pulling yourself away from that day. It's just
Mhm.
total different experience.
Yes, yes. And I tell people too, because when they say to me, like, well, I don't have time to do that right now, I'm like, well, think about the last 10 years of your life. You've probably felt that way for the last 10 years, right? Like nothing changes until you change at the level of your mind. So, yeah, and getting really clear on the tasks that you need to be spending your time on, that's huge also. I love that.
Excellent. All right. So I want to dive into your journey a little bit more because I think many of us have had that feeling at some point throughout our journeys, whether we were transitioning from a job or a career into our own business, whether we were transitioning from one business to another business, or even as we were reimagining aspects of our business where we just lose that fulfillment, where we don't feel that deep sense of fulfillment. And we think there's got to be something more. There's got to be something different from what I have right now that would feel more fulfilling and really give me more of what I want. And
Mhm.
I love that in your journey, you really followed that and made that transition. So, can you share with us what some of those catalysts were and how mindset played a part in that transition?
Yeah. So my whole journey really started in 2020 because I was in a career where I traveled a ton. I was so busy. I was just so caught up in the day to day that I never really paused to ask myself those bigger questions about, like, am I happy? Do I like what I'm doing? Right. And so when COVID hit and we went into lockdown, I had that time to then like rest and reflect. And it was such an invaluable time in my life because it just gave me that space to be able to do that. And I realized that I was so deeply unhappy and I was having these health issues, and just I was not very nice to myself and just like put so much pressure on myself to perform. I had a lot of really bad habits and like I entertained a lot. So I was out drinking all the time, and it just was kind of a recipe for disaster. So that time was so impactful for me. And I just did a lot of soul searching. And I realized that my career just was not aligned with my values. And I always had these like big dreams of starting my own business, and I always was really interested in coaching, and I've always been a spiritual person, and I've always said like I want to somehow bring spirituality into the finance world. But this all seemed like a pipe dream, right? Like most people don't really even allow themselves to want what they want because we think it seems too unrealistic. So I didn't know like the first thing about coaching or how to get certified or anything. And so I started like asking for some guidance, right? I was like, all right, I'm going to look for signs and kind of follow the breadcrumbs. And in a week period, I had two different people who I really respected and trusted mention Bob Proctor to me and about his company, which I had always known who Bob was. I didn't know that he had his own company with his own coaching program that you can basically be a consultant for. So I found it and decided to go through the program myself. And, within like the first I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm actually just gonna, because I didn't really have intentions of leaving my job at that point. But it shifted my mindset and my beliefs so much about how we limit ourselves with our thinking and how we don't really think that we can do what we do. And I said, you know what, if I have this program, first of all, I felt like I needed to share this program with other people because it was changing me so much. And then I just really also felt like if I just follow these principles, I know I'll be successful. So I decided to just quit my job and um, just dive in with this material. And that's what I've been doing since. So that was April of 2021.
I love it. That's excellent. And I mean, I think the thing that's so impressive about that is it's not like you just had some job, that you had. This was a career. This was a
Oh, yeah.
long career where you were very well recognized. You were the VP of sales. This was a big decision to make, but you
Mhm.
listened to what you wanted. You listened to kind
Yeah.
of that dream that you had instead of putting it off saying, oh, it would be nice someday, maybe when I retire, maybe when. And I think so many people do that where they've got a
Mhm.
dream. And as you said, they either don't let themselves fully dream the big dream, or they, for whatever reason, feel like it's not right for me, or I can't do it, or now is not the time. And you just
Exactly.
went for it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's why everyone was so shocked. And I just had a record year in my career. I made more money than I had. It was like I was at the peak of my career. And so everyone was really shocked when I left. But I think that is what's giving me so much credibility now in what I'm doing because so many of my clients come from that old world and they knew me before and they're like, okay, well, if you believe in this that much that it had you basically take that leap, they're like, I want to know what it is.
So
So yeah.
for everyone listening, if they're at that point in their business where they're ready for a big change, I know I have my big reimagine retreat coming up. It will have passed by the time you hear this interview, but you can get on the list for the next one. But I think there's so many people in this energy of reimagining things and realizing that they want more and they're meant for
Mm.
more, whether it's closing down the business they have and starting a new one, or reimagining their current business to be more in alignment. Is there anything you would share with them from your own journey that you think they could do to really realize that now is the time to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I say to people all the time, like how long do you think we have here, right? Like we have one life and you're trading your life for what you do every day. And so if you're not happy with what you're doing every day, I mean, you're not going to have a happy life, right? I mean, there's just no way around that. So, and when you have those nagging and gnawing feelings about more and about like a dream, that's the universe talking to you and trying to nudge you and your soul trying to nudge you into your proper path, right? And if you don't listen to the little nudges, you're going to get hit with a sledgehammer eventually. um, and so yeah, I say like listen to those whispers before they become too loud, and really go for it. Again, like we only have a limited amount of time here. We don't know how much time we have. And I really truly believe that we're never given a desire or a vision that we don't have the capacity to fulfill. So if you have that dream in your heart, it's for you, right? Like the universe needs you to fulfill that. And something I like to think about that I think has helped me a lot on my journey is that it's not about me, right? It's about who I'm supposed to be serving in this world. And by me not stepping into to this role, I'm doing those people a disservice. So it's almost like selfish to stay stuck where you are when you have that bigger dream because you're going to be able to help and serve so many more people at that level.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And I remember I had somebody on one of my lean coffees one week and we were talking about marketing and they were like, sometimes I struggle and I don't know what to say. And so I don't say anything. And she shared just like this very bold statement that I think made everybody just pause, but I keep thinking about it over and over again. And it was so true. And she was like, your marketing isn't about you. By you saying I can't create something and by you not putting something out there, you're choosing not to help the people who need you most.
Mm.
And everyone just kind of paused when she said that, like, whoa. And it changed everyone's perspective of things.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I love what you shared there because I think that is true. What we do isn't about us. Yes, we're
Mhm.
taking our gifts and it's our lifestyle and it's what we choose to invest our time in. But ultimately, it's about how we're helping our clients get the result that they want, the transformation that they want. It's what we're
Exactly.
doing to make
Yeah,
the impact that we want to make.
definitely.
I love that. Okay. So now let's take this to the like tangible, practical side of things. So let's say we've made this commitment. We are going to reimagine things. We're going to make this transition and transformation. How do you get there? Like I know you and I both are big fans of goal setting. And so now you know what you want. So how do you actually get there? Walk us through what you would do from a goal perspective and how you would approach that.
Yeah, so the goal is so important. That's foundational for what I do with my clients is like, what does that look like? And I really push you on what that goal is, even is. So there's three types of goals. I call them the practical, the stretch, and the OMG. So the practical is something that you already know how to do. So that would maybe be like, you gain 10 pounds, you want to lose 10 pounds, or you bought a new car 5 years ago, you want to buy another new car. There's no growth attached to it. The second is something that like you think that you can do, the practical. So you think that like, oh, if you get that bonus or land that client or whatever, that you would be able to achieve it. But the OMG goals are really, that's like your heart's desires, right? That's what we really want. And they come from the effective use of our imagination. So I have to have people start tapping back into their imagination because we've squashed it for so long. So that's a big thing that I work on with them is really just using that mental faculty again and exercising it like a muscle and really drawing that picture in your mind of what you want, right? Because everything is created twice, once in your mind and then in physical reality. Once you have the goal, you have to always have it at the forefront of your mind, right? You got to stay connected to it and you have to really tune into it, right? And think from that goal achieved. So and then, then we go into like the reprogramming of the subconscious mind and what habits that you need to develop and daily disciplines to get you there. But yeah, it all starts with that goal.
Absolutely. Because, vision, dreams, all of that, amazing, brilliant. But you need to break it down into a goal and
Yes,
then you need to take action and you need to take
exactly.
committed, repetitive action.
Mhm. Exactly. And so actually I even have my clients chunk down the goal. So once they have that big OMG goal, because again, then it does seem pretty big and you're like, okay, how do I take an action step to it? So I call that the summit. And then we do a mid camp and a base camp. And so the base camp is like a 90-day goal. And then you chunk it down to, okay, what can I do? What actions can I take every day and every week to move myself closer to that? And I think that I just want to add in that that's such a misunderstood part of the law of attraction, right? People think that, oh, I'm just going to like imagine and visualize my dream and it's just going to happen, or a car and it's going to show up. But the taking action is where the rubber meets the road, where you got to do that inspired action, right? To really make it happen.
Yeah, I think that is such a great point because so often I remember I used to have this friend and she would do this all the time. I'd be like, how are you doing? She's like, I don't understand why I'm not generating the revenue I want. I mean, I imagine it and I meditate on it and I do
Mhm.
my affirmations every single day. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's great. And how many people have you reached out to? Oh, well, I haven't reached out to anybody. I've been working on my affirmations. And I'm like, okay, and what actions have we taken? And she was just
Exactly.
bewildered why she wasn't bringing in the revenue and why clients weren't just coming to her because she felt like she was just so open to attracting them. And I was like, great, you've got like half of the equation down, but if you're not taking action, it's not
Exactly.
magic. It's not
Yeah,
going to just auto
exactly.
magically happen.
Yes, yeah. I say, listen, you have to take a couple steps and the universe will take a big step back, right? But you got to meet somewhere. If you're not moving, the universe doesn't know that you're really serious about it.
So true. And hopefully you all had somebody pop in your mind when I said that, because we all have that friend.
Yeah. I think it was even me for a while.
We all go through that journey.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your work. How do you work with your clients? What do you do? And what do you have coming up next that's exciting you?
Yeah, so I have a 6-month coaching program where, again, it's basically about, okay, what do you really want in your life? And then I show you exactly how to achieve it using your mindset and your habits. So it's a 12 module process. And yeah, it's been so impactful in my life. And now I see it on my clients' lives. And so it's just really such a fun journey to go through with them. As for what's coming next, I have a new program that I'm rolling out that is called Lead the Field, which is another one of Bob Proctor's programs. And it was actually his mentor's program, Earl Nightingale. And it's awesome. It's about really how to be that exceptional leader in your field. And so, yeah, that's what I have coming down the pipeline. And I'm excited to roll that out.
Excellent. And where can people find you online and learn more about everything that you're up to?
Yeah, so a great place to follow me is on Instagram. My handle is gracefully_Adrienne. I do a lot on LinkedIn as well, so I'm just Adrienne Grace on there. And yeah, I mean, and if anyone is interested in setting a goal for themselves, they could always download my OMG Goals workbook, which is at freegiftfromgrace.com.
I love it. All those links, of course, will be in the show notes. So make sure that you check Adrienne out. And I can't wait to hear your answer to the question that I ask every guest on the show. And that is, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean in your business?
Yeah, I love this question. So I would say the first thing is understanding my genius time. So for me, it's first thing in the morning. So I take 90 minutes in the morning where it's about from 5:45 to 7:15 where I do work, and I can be more productive and effective in that 90 minutes than I am the rest of the day. So just understanding where you are at your best. And for most people, it is the morning. And I don't work out until I get that hour and a half in, right? Like that really is my time to get a lot done. And then the other thing that I always do is write down the night before the 6 things that I want to do the next day. And I start with one and I don't move on to the next one until that's done, right? And then I just progressively get through that list. And if I can't get through all 6, then it just rolls over the next day. But every day I have those 6 things, my most important tasks. And I can usually get through at least one of them in that 90 minutes. It depends on what it is, but having that 90 minutes first thing in the morning, I think is like so impactful for me. And then just not having to think about anything else that I'm doing during the day, because I did that the night before and I could just get right to work.
Brilliant. I love those tips. I do something similar, so absolutely love it. And before we round out the episode, just one final question for you, and that's, do you have any tips to leave the listeners with when it comes to leveraging their mindset for getting better results in their business and their life?
I will say, like, the number one thing is just focus on what you want. So many of us are focusing on what we don't want, and they're allowing the current results to affect our thinking and our feelings, right? So maybe your business isn't where you want it to be. And so it's like making you feel stressed out and you're feeling a certain way because it's not working. But you need to just stay tuned into what you do want and have complete and utter faith that it's going to happen, even if you can't see the tangible results right now. And anytime you start feeling stressed or worried or doubtful, just tune into that picture that you have of what you do want and allow that to lift your state and lift your mood. And that is really how you'll start creating a lot of shifts in your business and in your life.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you all love this conversation as much as I did. I will see you again next week.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.